Frosts and freezes in inland areas tonight in the Northeast, but that seems to be the least of our concerns because we have a pending nor'easter for the weekend. And we also have meteorologist Bill Goodman with us tonight because, after all, he always has everything figured out. And if not, we'll figure it out here tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Wait till you see Joe's hair. Brought to you by, our friends at Amazon. If you want to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is, kind of a nice thing to do, you can do it by shopping on Amazon. It is easy. Use the link that's on the description to this podcast and do your shopping. And Amazon sends us back a little bit of coin for sending you there, and I do mean little. But it's enough to keep the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast commercial free when we are live. And also, if you need a weather station, Bill, you should get the Tempest by WeatherFlow. You can have the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you will be part of the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is also on the description to this podcast on YouTube. Use that coupon code, Joe Rayo.
Autumn 2025, Joe Giappi.
You're going to give him a little woo-woo-woo? Woo-hoo?
Woo! Woo!
And if you use it, you will get?
You'll get 10% off.
Yes, you will.
Or 10% belongs to the stockholders.
That's right, yes.
Well, you're telling everybody about my hair, so I figured, I might as well give them something really to look at, so I'm giving you I'm giving Bill the friendly raccoon hello. Woo!
I gave you that raccoon hat, so I hope you wear it proudly.
Yes. Oh, wait a minute. Bill's over there.
Right.
I mixed up the boxes tonight. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Joe. Mind if I smoke?
I don't care
if you burn. All right, let's get rolling here. Right, welcome to everybody here on the chat board, and to those of you watching in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Big welcomes to you too. Just to give you a heads up, and I posted it on Facebook and on X today. The schedule changes that are coming up. So we're going to be here tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Saturday morning we'll be here at 11 a.m. And then Sunday, we're going to be on twice. We're going to be here at 11 a.m. and at 7:35 p.m. And, Bill, if you're not doing anything, if you happen to have some days off after your run of midnight shifts, you are certainly welcome to join us in the party.
Oh, I got the storm itself. I'll be busy.
Oh, okay. Well, you and I will send secret messages to each other along the way. All right. So first, you know what? Let's get to the short range out of the way because that is, we can get through that pretty quickly. And I'll just run through a couple of things here, and then we could start talking about this nor'easter for the weekend. First off, for tonight, and check both of you on your memories. I'm thinking this frost and freeze for tonight. Today's the 9th of October. This is, at least in recent years, I always think of the first frost, coming maybe toward the end of the month rather than now in the first half.
Yeah, it is a little bit on the early side.
Joe? Usually the first freeze or the first frost, I would think around here, comes during the mid to late part of October, so it's a little bit early this year, okay. At least in my humble opinion.
No, I just seem to remember that in recent years we've had to wait till like late October or early November to get frost as far south as the city and the coast. Now, those areas are not under any kind of frost advisories or freeze warnings, but you can see that much of the Northeast, down to Pennsylvania and into Northwest Virginia and the mountains of West Virginia and even back to Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan are under either frost advisories, frost warnings, or freeze warnings. In the West, thanks to what's going to be left of Hurricane Priscilla, we've got a ton of flash flood watches. Almost the whole state of Arizona is under a flash flood watch, as well as neighboring southeastern California and the deserts, and I think Palm Springs is in the middle of that too. A couple of counties in Nevada, about half of Utah and southwest Colorado, and we have winter storm watches up for parts of western Montana and northern Idaho, because they're going to see some snow, but not much going on weather-wise across the United States. Actually, it's pretty quiet. Skies, for most of the country, skies right now are clear, and we've got that Priscilla there paralleling the Baja Peninsula and starting to shoot some moisture northward up into Arizona and Utah, and there's more to come. And off the southeast coast, under the old frontal boundary that went through early yesterday, now stalled out, and we're starting to see some moisture beginning to build off the Florida east coast. Here's the radar tonight with some rain showers over parts of eastern Florida and offshore. We also have some rain and some heavier rain moving through Arizona, north of Phoenix now, and heading toward Flagstaff and even into southern Utah and back over into southern Nevada and southern California. The Storm Prediction Center, no severe weather being indicated for the next couple of days, so that's a good thing. And WPC, now we can start talking about, with respect to the storm system, Mr. Goodman. WPC has kind of pushed up the bigger rainfall amounts a little bit further north today, covering now all of New Jersey is about 2 to 3 inches, and maybe even a little bit more along the New Jersey shore. And the same also about 2 to 3 inches in the lower Hudson Valley, Long Island, right along the edge of Connecticut, and also into southeastern New England, and then southward through New Jersey down onto the Delmarva Peninsula. One of the questions, Bill, with respect to this storm system and in terms of rainfall, you're starting out a low down off the Florida coast. I mean, I got to think that there's going to be a little bit of a tropical feed into this thing.
Yeah, you would have that. I mean, even with the strong east to northeast flow, you probably, in at least on the north side of the storm, even the cold conveyor belt be bringing in a lot of Atlantic moisture.
Joe, Mr. Rayo, your opinion?
We're going to be looking at a period where we're going to see quite a bit of rain in a short interval of time. But the thing that gets me is that we still don't have quite everybody on board at the same. I mean, like, for example, I'm looking at the NAM. If you want to believe the 18Z NAM, we don't get into any kind of precipitation here, believe it or not, until almost the end of the day on Sunday. They keep most of Sunday dry. Meanwhile, the global models, the European and also the GFS, have the precipitation coming in either first thing in the morning on Sunday or even during the overnight hours of Saturday night. Canadian still wants to keep a good part of the storm offshore.
What is with the Canadian? Can you explain this to me? I mean, let's just show everybody. Every other model is on board with some kind of run up along the immediate coast. And the Canadian, which I'm going to bring up now, and by the way, it took a long time for the 12Z Canadian run to show up. No, Joe, it's finally, you must have been looking at the 0Z because the 12Z, as of mid-afternoon, wasn't even out, but now it's out, and it's joined the others. It's all, I have it up on the screen. It's now almost, the same as the other ones.
Well, if you want to look at this from the standpoint of the two of the global models, GFS and European, it still is going to take, according to the Canadian, until after 2 or 3 o'clock before the rains finally overspread the lower Hudson Valley. And they do have a swath of rather heavy rainfall, but it doesn't really move in until probably sometime in the late night hours of Sunday or early hours of Monday. And then that pretty much is it. I mean, there's more rain coming through Monday, but the really heavy artillery, according to the Canadian model, waits until late Sunday and Sunday night. And we'll look at this.
Monday afternoon on the Canadian on 12Z, on the 12Z run, has a 93 low southeast of Atlantic City. It still has a ton of rain going on everywhere. And the gradient is super tight. I mean, it's got rain arriving here during Sunday morning on the 12Z. And then it's, it lasts, if you believe it, on the Canadian, it's all through Sunday night and a good chunk of Monday. And before, in fact, still has rain around for most of, to some extent on Tuesday.
Well, I don't really understand them because I'm looking at tropical tidbits, and the 18Z total accumulated precipitation for in inches shows that much of the Hudson Valley, lower Hudson Valley, as of 18Z, has no precipitation during the previous 24 hours. It's not until, again...
I'm sorry, which model are we looking at now?
I'm looking at the 12Z Gem.
The 12Z Gem, I'm looking at it also, and it's got rain. I mean, it's got green at 0Z on Tuesday, Joe. It's got rain everywhere. I have it up there. Look at it.
At 0Z Tuesday?
Yes, look at it. Look, I have it up on the screen.
Well, I'm talking about looking at total accumulated precipitation on the Gem as of 18Z on Sunday. There is still no accumulated precipitation indicated. This is on tropical tidbits now.
Right.
For
okay, right. At 18Z, it's got light green over Long Island and New Jersey and Point South, and then it's got the half-inch line to like White Plains at 0Z. But then it goes crazy Sunday night and Monday.
Right. Well, that's good for them because they always go crazy. And yeah, I can see that they put much of the lower Hudson Valley, the Canadian is putting us in the pink, so to speak. So that means that they're talking about at least 2 inches and probably a bit more if you want to carry this over into the early part of next week. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, we are going to get wind. We are going to get rain. We are going to get I think at least an inch or two of precipitation, an inch or two of rainfall. But I'm not thinking about this as I already saw somebody on the chat board. I forgot who it was, asking us about could we explain the differences or the similarities between this and Sandy? And I'm saying, Sandy, you want to make
no real similarity. They're two different animals.
Exactly. Exactly.
William,
one thing that this does that Sandy did not do, for example, it seems that sometime between late Sunday and early Monday, this storm system kind of idles in neutral gear for a while, kind of does a small little semicircle, if you will, before it finally begins to move back on its way. And it doesn't, and I mentioned this yesterday or the day before, this is not your classic nor'easter in the sense that it moves up along the eastern seaboard off the mid-Atlantic coast and takes a track up toward, let's say, Cape Cod and Nova Scotia. This thing gets up to about 37, 38 degree latitude, and again takes that little stalling or idling in neutral gear for a while, Sunday night, early Monday, and then it takes a track more or less straight east, maybe even east-southeast for later Monday and into Tuesday. So it's kind of an odd scenario for your classic East Coast system, and it'll be interesting to see what we finally end up getting out of all of this.
Well, first of all, just your thoughts on all of this because you've been working these shifts, and I got the 18Z upper air on the screen. I don't know if you're able to see it. But this northern stream feature that's coming down, I mean, that's a tight, nice-looking powerhouse there, upper low in Lake Huron, that drops, south-southeast, picks up that southern trough, and just basically, eats up the coastal low in the sense that it just swallows it and just lifts it up as far north as it gets.
Yeah, I guess that happens over the weekend when it dives southeast through the building ridge. It does, looking at the 18Z European, it does take a little bit of time to really phase with it. That doesn't seem to happen until Sunday night, looking at the 18Z European. Before that's just a bowling ball that's going through the Great Lakes and then into New York and Pennsylvania. And then it looks like by Sunday night they really phase. And that's when the low hooks back toward the coast.
Right. which is important. I'm not maybe I really have only been looking at when I was looking at the Canadian the last couple of days. I really didn't. I should have looked at the 500 to try to understand why it did what it did, but it probably just kept those two features basically separate. And the northern stream feature just never phased with the southern stream. But we know that that is now that's finally the last model is thrown in the towel. So we know this is going to happen. My question to you, though, is, Mr. Goodman. Well, you might want to answer this, or you might not. But I'm totally cool with it. But is the Hurricane Center going to say at least something about this?
I had thought maybe they would, just to say, okay, we know that's there, or it's not tropical. That's our last word on it. But I don't even think they're not even going that far. So, and
what really killed me this morning, not that I expected them to say anything now, but on the tropical weather outlook, now they've gone to a 40%. They marked off an X at 45 degrees north and 35 degrees west, saying that there was a chance that this could become better organized at 10 and 10. Now they have it at 40 and 40% and 40%. Also indicating that for more information on this system, including gale warnings, see the high seas forecast issued by the National Weather Service and Meteo France. So now they got the French involved in this, so this ought to be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I kind of think, I think they should say something. I mean, at least say, like you said, at least acknowledge that it's there, and then maybe say something to the fact that we don't expect this to become a tropical system. You can monitor this by, whoever else is, whatever agency is going to be monitoring this.
Yeah, because in the past, I'd seen that I'd seen the Hurricane Center do that type of thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that low. I'm looking at it on satellite. I mean, the one that's in the Northeast Atlantic just looks like an extra tropical low, and I guess when it's detaching from whatever fronts that are associated with it, that's when it may develop. I can't even imagine that the water's all that warm up there either.
Yeah. Now, when I look at this, I got the 54-hour GFS Saturday evening, where they have the low center basically sitting right on Hatteras as a 90. Let me see. I can't see it now. What is that? A 90 what? 1002? Looks like a 996 low. And the way they got the precip field wrapped around it, it does kind of imply to me that there'll be some convection near the center. I mean, thinking that it starts out as far south as it does near Florida and over the warm waters off the southeast coast of the United States, that there might be, maybe this could be warm core-ish. And does it? And does it matter? Does it really matter if it is?
Well, I mean, it's in one respect, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I mean, the impacts along the coast are going to be like what you'd get from a tropical storm. But in terms of the structure of the storm, I mean, if you look closely at it, it definitely does. It doesn't really have a frontal structure, at least at the surface when it first develops off the southeast coast. But as soon as it gets up toward Hatteras, you can see that there's a pretty pronounced warm front that develops to the north of it. And I think even looking at some of the phase diagrams from Florida State, it is a warm core system, but it's like an asymmetric warm core. So basically, this type of storm, not a tropical storm. I guess it's what we call a warm seclusion type of cyclone, where you do have like a blob of warmer air near the center of the cyclone, but this also has fronts attached to it. So not tropical, but also not your regular nor'easter. And actually, in that respect, if this storm is similar to Sandy in any respect, it would be that type of structure.
Okay. Now I'm using the GFS that's on the screen. To me, it implies actually has a little bit of rain with the onshore flow over central and South Jersey and down into the Delmarva Peninsula Saturday afternoon and into Saturday evening. and then as the low starts to push northward, the rain, from the system itself begins to advance northward, out of through North Carolina, Virginia, and then on up in more New Jersey. And if you believe the GFS, it's pouring rain from central New Jersey southward at 8 a.m. Sunday, and it's solid dark green, moderate rain over Long Island, New Jersey, and then just slightly lighter rain a little bit further north, and that's at 7 a.m. Sunday. And then suddenly everybody's like in either moderate or heavy rain for Sunday afternoon. So the GFS has, at least from the standpoint of the GFS, it has a slightly faster arrival time for the rain. And also, that would the gradient tightens up Sunday morning, so it has a faster arrival time for the winds. I'm wondering what do you think? How do you think the winds are going to play out with this?
Well, let's see. I don't know. I actually do like the fact that the global models are faster than the NAM, because that often happens. I do wonder if it's too fast though. Like if you look in the GFS at that time at 12Z Sunday, you have the low centered at Hatteras, but it looks like there's some kind of secondary feature that's trying to form to its northeast that's east of the Delaware coast.
Right there.
And that's related.
I got the crossover it with the latitude and longitude. There's a little tiny closed isobar there.
Yeah, and that may be some convective feedback going on. So I don't know if that feature is real. The European does have a little something like that, but it's way off to the south and east. So there's probably something. There's probably a little something to that, but because of that, I think that because that's there, the pressure gradient and even the timing of the arrival of rain might be a little bit too quick. To have it to have it raining steadily by central New Jersey by 12Z Sunday, that might be a little bit early. That and with that feature being there, the onset of the strong winds is a lot sooner too. So I tend to lean more with like what the Europeans doing right now, where it's just a little bit later than that. It's more when we get into the afternoon when all that happens.
All right, so I'm going to put up hands on buzzers, boys. Okay, so I'm putting up the GFS total QPF. Okay, which has about a little over an inch and a half total. This is through 2 p.m. Tuesday. So about an inch and a half, a little over an inch and a half, 1.6 at New York City, 2.4 at Trenton, 2.7 Philadelphia, 2.8 Dover, 2.9 Toms River, 3.1 Long Branch, Brentwood 2.6, and between an inch, inch and a half, even an inch of rain as far north as Albany, and basically an inch and a half to 2.5 inches over southeastern New England. So that's the GFS. And I'm going to switch to the 18, and I'm going to do the same thing with the winds. So I'm going to switch over to the European. So we got the European here. And I see the thing with the European, and I've been kind of thinking all along, is it seems to have maybe a little bit more of convection in there. So the European's got 2.8 for New York City, 2.5 for Brentwood, an inch and a half or under 2 inches as you go north. And then once you get north of Poughkeepsie, it pushes the 1 inch line almost, but not quite to Albany. Has it a little drier up in northern New England. Which one of these two? And then it also has a big 5.4 inch bullseye over Toms River. So of these two gentlemen, which one would you play? Which one do you favor?
You go first, Joe.
I have been thinking all along that the GFS, and this is funny because you just pointed out that, I noticed for Poughkeepsie, for example, the GFS had only an inch and the European has 1.4, a little bit more. And yet I've been thinking that the GFS has been going too much whole hog on this in terms of the rain and the wind, at least for the lower Hudson Valley area. You mentioned, forecasters have been saying Noreaster, and you mentioned that, and the average person who hears that immediately is thinking of, oh my God, we're going to get 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. Oh my God, we're going to get winds to 50 to 70 miles an hour. Oh my God, it's going to be and it's going to be a nice little rain and windstorm for the Hudson Valley, I'm thinking, along the lines of, 1 to 2 inches or maybe a little more in terms of rainfall. I'm thinking that there may be winds down by the Sound Shore approaching 40 or 45 miles an hour inland where I am, more like maybe 30 to 35. It's going to be windy, it's going to be rainy, but I don't think this is going to be cataclysmic. But, again, the local news media is already putting this on the plate and
they're
making
going to
it sound
do
like it's going to.
they're going to do they do that all the time. So I mean, there's none that's not exactly breaking news. I'm just kind of focused on what you think here. So I get what you
I
mean.
think you just heard. I said I think we get like an inch or two of in the lower Hudson Valley, an inch or two for coastal areas, and especially down through the Jersey Shore, it might be more like 2 to 3 inches. Coastal locations, South Shore of Long Island, coastal New Jersey, 50-mile plus wind gusts around. But again, as you go inland, I don't think the winds are going to be quite that disruptive. I think it's going to be more like 30 and 40, which is not, it's not anything like a shirker or whatever. It's going to be a pretty good gusty breeze out there for even here in the Hudson Valley. But again, I'm not thinking in terms of like this massive, which is what again the news media likes to do. You're making it sound like it's going to be a horrendously terrible storm. And look, you've got people even on our own chat board talking about similarities to Sandy, and this is not in any way, shape, or form going to be similar to Sandy's. Even the fact that it's occurring during what we would refer to as the neap tide, midway between astronomically high tides. It's coming during when the moon is at last quarter phase, so the tides are not going to be as terrible as they might otherwise be if they were in a new or full moon phase. It's going to be, but it's on the other hand, it's been a while since we've had a situation like this, a
I'll say.
term of unsettled or rough weather of the type that we're going to be looking at over the weekend. So it's going to be interesting. It'll for those who are into weather and like dynamic meteorology. It's more than just a cheap thrill, but I don't think it's really going to be something that's going to be like that kind of scenario.
William.
All right. This is point counterpoint. I think I'm thinking a little bit more along more aggressive lines in terms of, and not so much in terms of rainfall, but in terms of wind and coastal impacts. I do like what the European and the Canadian are doing. Like as the low hooks northwest back toward the coast, there's like an inverted trough type of feature that, and that's where that heaviest rain along the Jersey Shore that seems to be associated with that. I kind of like that. The GFS does not do that because it has that convectively induced low that's north of the primary on Sunday. That kind of steals the heavy rain and takes it south and east. I don't agree with that at all. I think it's so I kind of like the idea of, I'm not sure if we're going to be as wet as the Canadian, but I think we're several inches of rain, 4 to 6 inch rainfall. You said Tom's River. My daughter lives in Brick Township, so I guess it's going to be there, right nearby.
Right.
So,
I
think.
Go ahead.
So I kind of like that idea better than what the GFS is doing.
All right. I just want to just really quick say thank you to Birder Lady who hit the tip jar tonight, and she says she's happy to see you on the show tonight, Bill. Thank you, Birder.
Thank you.
And Heath A.
Thank you. Yeah. I got a message asking if I was in the green room putting makeup on earlier from her.
Did you get the cheese
I don't
platter?
know if anybody knows, but Birder Lady is the vice president in charge of the Bill Goodman fan club.
Ah.
Oh man, there aren't too many people in that club. That's
did you get the cheese platter we sent you?
The cheese platter? No, I got bananas. I don't know where they came from. My granddaughter and I were having bananas right before I came on the show. So
and also Heath A. Hit the tip jar, and he says, "Thank you for the decades of watching your forecast, Joe. Decades, okay, of watching your forecasts. So rarely on. Heath A. is rarely on the board when we're live, so we're glad you're here." And Andrew Winters just hit the tip jar and wants to know. So maybe you could tackle this. He wants to know how high will the water get on the Jersey Shore, because he lives right on the water in Tom's River.
Yeah, we're kind of worried about that. We have coastal flood watches up, and it does look. Now, one thing, even though we're like getting into, we're off the full moon, high tides. It's funny, astronomical high tides do tend to lag for a few days following the full moon, so they might still be high enough where we get some big problems. I mean, all week, even well before, like when we were just starting to see the storm come into focus. We don't have too much storm surge guidance, but I was looking at there's a long range model called the Stoffs, and I was looking at that. And even if using that and then adding a half a foot to kind of, because the storm surge models always play catch up. Even several days ago, suggesting potential for like moderate to locally major flooding in spots along the Jersey Shore. Also, South Shore, Long Island, the typical spots along Nassau. Lindenhurst down in Suffolk. I'm not so sure if the flooding is going to be quite that bad on the Long Island Sound. That's I think it's going to be more of a problem for the back bays along the ocean front. So that looks like and the onset of the winds would be very important in determining like when that happens. So I think it's the Sunday daytime high tide. I don't think that one will be as bad as the one Sunday night and maybe into Monday. Those are the ones that are really going to be the problems.
All right, so I got the wind gusts map up. Just before I get to, it's been on the screen for a bit. There's a few people been asking about the wind, and we've got a 2 p.m. starting with the 2 p.m. European max wind gusts. The chairman, thank you for hitting the tip jar tonight, and of course, somebody had to compare it to something. So that somebody apparently compared this to the Ash Wednesday storm of 1962. I don't know. I was 3 years old at the time, so I have no clue. But at 2 o'clock, the European has it has gusts into the 30s inland, but focusing on the coast, it's got a Toms River wind gust of 43, 46, Brentwood at 35. And then by 8 o'clock, it's for those highest points are 40 at Toms River, 46 and 37. It's got a whole lot of yellow. The yellow that's out in the ocean, that's all 70-mile-an-hour wind and plus. And then at 2 a.m., it's got 44 at Brentwood, 46 at Long Branch, 42 at Toms River. But it seems, at least from the European standpoint, that the stronger winds will come between 1 a.m. and 7 a.m. Monday. It's got 53 at gust of 53 at Brentwood, 50 at Long Branch and Toms River. And then between 7 a.m., 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. Monday, 58 at Toms River, 61 at Long Branch, 56 at Brentwood. Over the east end, it's got 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts. Southern New Jersey, 40 to 50. I mean, is it conceivable that the East End might wind up getting into some zone of 60 to 70 mile an hour winds with this?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think so. Just you have one of the things that looks like that's working in its favor is you have an east northeast fetch, so you're going to have more time for that wind to be over the water and really accelerate. And I guess that's the problem for there, and also for the Jersey Shore going into to Sunday night and the first part of Monday.
And still hanging on at 8 o'clock Monday evening. And then even Monday night, they still got gusts on the Jersey Shore into the 50s before finally dropping to the low 40s by Tuesday morning, and still in the mid to upper 30s during Tuesday afternoon. I mean, the European seems to be holding on to the gradient a bit tighter and longer than the other models are. I mean, is the upper? I mean, how much of a wild card is this upper air? You think, with respect to the long duration of what we're seeing?
Well, if you get that phase with the upper low that's diving to the southeast, it's going to capture the low, and it's going to basically stall off the mid-Atlantic coast, somewhere off the South Jersey coast once we get into Monday. So yeah, I think that does, at least in terms of duration of wind, definitely works in favor of that. In terms of the strong wind, I guess just that's with the low winding up, and then you have the pressure gradient between that and the high to the north. I mean, those winds look fairly reasonable. I'd probably shave a few miles per hour off of what they're forecasting. They tend to be a little bit high, but they're at least in the ballpark.
Yes, it's really interesting. Joe, you should see on I have the 18Z European, and maybe this is Bill. This may be also how each model runs, kind of reacts to the upper low a little differently. So Sunday at 1 a.m., the low is just south of Hatteras. Then it just kind of jumps east of Hatteras and goes northeast into the Atlantic, and then just sits out there. And the rain just sort of pivots up and around and backwards Sunday night into Monday, and then the low moves northwest to southeast of Atlantic City by about 60 or 70 miles, and it's this is Monday night. Okay, what's up on the frame here is Monday night. The low is maybe about 60 or 70 miles southeast of Atlantic City, and you're still in a fairly tight gradient all over the place, and then finally, as we get into Tuesday morning, the surface low drops southwards almost to Norfolk, and then southeast and gone. But it does at least indicate the upper low seems to want to try to capture this at least for a short period of time, a relatively short period of time, and that results in this the prolonging of rain and wind through the daytime Monday. Conceivable.
If you give me sharing capabilities, I have you just mentioned a few minutes ago, somebody was making comparisons between this system and the Ash Wednesday storm of 1962. I've got that map, the U.S. Department of Commerce map from 1962, and you may find this most interesting. Okay, let me just get the share capability up, and I found this rather interesting. It shows, if you're looking at your screens right now, that there is a system. This is on March the 6th, 1962, somewhat elongated down off of the Delmarva Peninsula. But more importantly, there was a huge high pressure system over Hudson Bay and on into eastern Canada. And so here's the gradient between that high and that low pressure system. And it doesn't look too dissimilar to what we're anticipating for this upcoming weekend. Storm system offshore, mid-Atlantic coast, and interacting with a large high to the north and the gradient. So it may very well be that for places like the South Shore of Long Island, and especially so the coastline of New Jersey. If I recall correctly from 1962 storm, New Jersey's shore really got hammered with that 62 system, and it would appear that, and you guys both seem to verify with this, is that if anybody is in the crosshairs for really nasty conditions in terms of wind and rain too, but also especially in terms of wind, it would be the Jersey Shore.
I won't argue with that. Although, I still think, Bill's point about the east end of Long Island makes a lot of sense.
I might also point out that, looking beyond March the 6th, this storm took similarly to this system. This storm takes a track almost east-northeast, away from the coast on the 7th and 8th of March. It does not, as I mentioned before, take the classic route up through the 4070 benchmark and past Cape Cod and up toward Nova Scotia. This storm system, too, took a track.
Joe, is there any way you can make that map a little bigger?
I can, whoops, hang on for a second. I can make it bigger, or try to make it bigger this way. Hang on a moment. Bloom, bloom, bloom. And then baloomp. And
there you go.
How's that?
Yeah, just go maybe just a little lower to bring the low a little further north. Will you be able to do that, or are you as far? There you go. Perfect.
So there you are. That's March the 6th. I can go to March the 7th if you'd like. You could show you that Again, it's more or less an elongated type of system. Come on, buffer wheel. Open up that document. There you go. This is March the 7th.
Wow, look at that.
That's quite a fetch.
As you can see, the storm does not take that track north and east. It goes more or less straight east. But yeah, look at that fetch. Look at that east-northeast wind. And the gradient is still quite tight. The day after the storm makes its closest pass to the mid-Atlantic area.
As I remember reading about this, that the beach erosion with this was insane.
So maybe whoever made the comment about the comparison with the storm of 1962, the Ash Wednesday storm, this looks somewhat similar coming up this weekend.
But the low is out east of 70, and this is not going to be that, for one thing. And then one major difference is this was in March and it was a snowstorm on the northern end of it. But the low is going to, this particular low is going to pivot back toward the coastline, which this is not going to do, which the Ash Wednesday storm did not do.
Well, that's the other thing that I want to ask you two guys. This is that I looked at the operational models. The operational models are the ones that are pivoting the storm back to the coast, but the ensembles pretty much keep the storm system out to sea and actually take a track slowly but surely to the east and east-northeast away from the coast. So there's kind of a divergence between what the operational is showing versus the ensemble models.
Bill?
Well, I haven't looked at the European ensemble. GFS ensemble runs at a coarser resolution, so it would be less likely to capture details like that. So I could see it going out to sea. I'd have to take a quick peek at the European ensemble to see what kind of low tracks it has.
I can even bring it up on this. I can bring it up on the screen too. So you work it on your end. I'm going to work it on mine. Let's see. So let's go to EPS, the 18Z EPS members, and I'll put it up on the screen now for everybody to see. Okay, my maps are loading. So this is the 72-hour. You can see where the mean position is, and you can see the members. It's actually got some members way up, or already up. There's one member that's east of southernmost Delaware. This is at 18Z. And then at 6Z, the mean position is south of Wilmington, for God's sake. It's, you look at this, the members on the European ensemble are all over the place.
This is on the 18Z cycle?
Yeah, this is for, okay, so this look at, I have up here on right now, this is actually 0Z Tuesday. Look where the mean low position is. It's southwest of Hatteras. That's the mean position. You got half the members that are north of 35. You got a few of them that are right off the New Jersey coast and off the Delaware coast, which is probably where you would put the operational runs where those are. And then you got a whole bunch that are clustered off the North Carolina coast, basically going nowhere. I mean, is it conceivable that? Well, I'm guessing that some of the members are saying that, still looking at the idea that, well, maybe it doesn't phase with that northern shortwave.
Yeah, I think that's what's driving that, because I'll tell you, the 12Z ensemble does not look like that at all. It's 12Z looks very well clustered, with a lot of the low tracks going northeast to Hatteras Sunday night, and then showing a stall off the Mid-Atlantic on Monday into Monday evening, and then drifting southeast after that.
Well, the only thing I would throw out is that I noticed this week that the 18Z European has been extremely squirrely. I mean, I'm not trying to say that this isn't possible, but what I'm saying is that for the last several days, the 12Z, the 12 and 0Z runs were kind of lined up with the GFS and doing what it was doing. Whereas then all of a sudden we had like 2 or 3 days in a row where the 18Z run trapped the low off the North Carolina coast and just basically took it southwestward into Georgia. So that's, there's that.
Yeah, without that upper low diving southeast, that's probably what would have happened, or it would have been if it did go on a track out to sea, it would have been a lot more suppressed. That presence of that low is really important in the whole scheme of things here.
Joe Rayo, we got 100 likes.
I just noticed that. I wasn't going to interrupt you guys while you were in the midst of all of this, but it's the second consecutive night that we've got to 100 or more on the likes, and it only goes to show you that when we have exciting weather, which we have not had much of in recent days and weeks, when we get exciting weather, all these people, they come running and charging to this podcast to get the latest update on what's going to be happening.
And why wouldn't they? We got three good-looking guys here tonight, so
three grandfathers,
each with varying amounts of hair.
Yeah.
So, okay. I mean, I think we kind of covered everything. Probably still a bit of uncertainty as to how this is all going to play out. I would say that's fair to say that. Still trying to juggle with things with timing and everything else. But I'm I'm sort of leaning more in Bill's camp of something a little more substantial, and particularly for the Jersey Shore and Point South. I'm going to kind of go in that direction.
All right, that sounds good to me. Joe Rayo, I did like your forecast for where you live. That's pretty reasonable. A 1 to 2 inch rainfall, and maybe some winds, gusting 35, 40, but nothing like what's going on right at the coastline.
Yeah, the Sound Shore again may approach 50. For places like Mamaroneck and Rye and New Rochelle, they tend to, and Mamaroneck, especially over the last decade, they seem to have like a bullseye target on them. They always seem, whenever we have any kind of significant East Coast storm, to flood out quite a bit. I hope this doesn't happen with this system, but in any case, I think for the lower Hudson Valley, it's going to be it'll be a good old-fashioned wind and rainstorm, and I think again for the folks who live along the South Shore of Long Island and particularly along the Jersey Shore, this may turn out to be more than just a regular wind and rain event. I could very well see for a place like Toms River or Seaside Heights, 3-4 inches of rain, and I could easily see for those areas too, winds gusting to 50 miles an hour or more at times, and causing all kinds of problems in terms of coastal flooding and beach erosion. But we know that our friends at the National Weather Service will certainly have all of the needed advisories and watches and warnings up to alert all folks who live down by the water as to what they can anticipate.
By the way, the Hurricane Center now has a 60% chance of tropical cyclone development with that system that is up at 45 degrees north and 35 degrees west, believe it or not. And Tropical Storm Jerry, which is almost a non-factor with this, except for the fact that I kind of think it being where it is, if it tracks the way it does, kind of blocks this from moving east.
Well, this may be the reason why. This may be the reason why this storm doesn't take the classical track. Although I think that's more due to the high pressure that's located north of this developing system, as to why it's not going up toward, let's say, Cape Cod and the islands and Atlantic Canada, and is taking more of that gradual turn more toward the east or east northeast after it gets to the mid-Atlantic coast.
William?
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question was,
looking to see what kind of
question was, is Tropical Storm Jerry, in a way, kind of acting as a bit of a block, being out at 60?
Yeah, I would say it. Yeah, the fact that it's out there is playing into the somewhat
Convoluted
really
mess.
not giving this a whole lot of wiggle room to go east.
All right. Well, fair enough.
David Scott on the chat board asking me, do I envision there being beach overwash on the south shore of Long Island in Atlantic Beach area? Any type of surge? Thank you, David. I think that anywhere along the south coast of Long Island, and I know the Atlantic Beach area well. I had relatives who have a home there actually on Kings Avenue. If you're in the Atlantic Beach area and know that area well, not too far from the drawbridge. Yeah, I think there will be some problems with the wind, and coastal flooding is certainly a possibility there. I think, as Bill mentioned, I think the main time frame will be late Sunday on into early or midday Monday. That'll be when the storm will be probably at its worst in terms of wind, rain, and any type of coastal issue that does evolve or emerge out of all of this.
Janet Dunn wants to know, what model run do you feel more confident for on a forecast? Would it be tomorrow nights or Saturday mornings? I'll shoot for Sunday afternoon, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the closer in, the better, we hope. Although it's funny, sometimes, I mean, how many times do we look at models and sometimes a week out it has the idea better than when we're closer in. That that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I hope we don't have this situation, and we have this sometimes where you say the closer in we get, the more accurate and more confident. But there have been occasions over recent years where the closer we get to a quote event, one model is going this way, the other models are going this way, the global models, the local model, and you say so, and you start pulling your hair.
Well, you remember that? Remember, was it a couple of years ago that in February the snowfall where it had like 20 inches for Boston on the 48-hour forecast, and within then over the next 24 hours, the entire area just shifted south, so that the heaviest snow fell over New York City and Long Island. It was, I think, maybe a 6 or 7 inch snowfall, and Boston got absolutely nothing. They were predicting like near blizzard conditions up there, and they got absolutely nothing out of it. And it all was inside the time frame of like 48 hours.
Was that the storm, Joe, that you said you wish you could take a nail and drive it through your head with a hammer?
Well, that's there've been there've been a number of nails that have been driven through my head with a hammer.
Yeah.
Or a nice an ice pick into my brain, as I like to put it. Anyway, someone asked also, and I'll repeat it again. Yes, we are going to add some shows for the next couple of days. So and this is probably a good time to wrap up this one, as we're coming up on 8:30 Eastern time. So here's what we're doing. And again, Bill, the door is always open for you to join us over the weekend. But as you said, you will be working. But tomorrow night we'll be on at 7:35. So there will be a show tomorrow night at 7:35. Joe and I are going to do a half hour, and I mean a half hour, not a half hour that goes to an hour and a half. We're going to do a short half-hour show Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And then Sunday, assuming that everything is going to be happening, we're going to do a half-hour Sunday morning before football at 11 a.m. and then come back Sunday evening after the Giants and Jets have both lost. Are the Giants playing?
No, the Giants are playing tonight.
The Giants playing tonight, right?
They're playing the Eagles tonight, and the Daily News says that because the Eagles lost this past Sunday, that they're going to be a bunch of angry birds when they face the Giants tonight, and they're going to plan to take their retribution out on the Giants tonight. So,
well, I'm in first place in my fantasy football league that I'm in. Now, how I'm doing it is beyond me, since I really don't follow football that closely. I don't know. I hardly know any of the players. I just let the computer pick my team. And apparently it did a really good job. So far I'm 4-1, which is a hell of a lot better than the two New York teams, that's for sure. So, Bill, thanks for being here tonight. Joe, your hair looks Absolutely fantastic.
I'm getting a
Uh,
haircut on Monday.
you're
Regardless
gonna
of how windy and rainy it is, Monday I'm getting a haircut.
okay,
Actually, I'm getting a mall cut.
which is a good idea. You're gonna have to take one of those like Bugs Bunny with the lawnmower on Elmer Fudd.
Yeah.
You know. Thank you for the super chat hits tonight, which I tried to pull up on the screen. Normally, I can pull them up on the screen, but YouTube is being mean to me. But I know
Murder Lady
Murder
was our
Lady,
first.
Heath A, the chairman Scott Briller, Andrew Winters. I think I got them all. Um, Hitting super chat tonight, and most appreciated. Those of you who hit the tip jar. Don't forget, if you do Amazon shopping, use our link to get you there so that Amazon tosses us some coin out of their pocket and not yours. And if you want a good weather station, get the Tempest by Weatherflow, runs off your mobile device. Both those links tonight are on the descriptor to this podcast on my YouTube channel. So we'll see everybody tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Say goodnight, Bill Goodman.
Good night, Bill Goodman.
Say goodnight, Joe Rayo.
Good night, Joe Rayo.
Night.